That's how we do. That's literally how we do. Welcome back. Talking Sports with that guy right here on CosmicBroadcasting.com. If you missed the show, you got plenty of ways to tap into it. You can go to CosmicBroadcasting.com, check out the archives page. Also available on Podomatic.com and iTunes. No excuses, no exceptions. Can't miss a show now. Last segment coming up in about 20 minutes. We'll have Dan Boniface of the Denver Post talking World Cup. But right now, this man, the only thing this man needs is an introduction. It is a song. He's a Public Enemy fan like me. I'm gonna let that run. Check it out.
Yet our best trained, best educated, best equipped, best prepared troops refuse to fight. Matter of fact, it's safe to say that they would rather switch than fight.
Ladies and gentlemen, he is the CEO of Hardwood Hoops Central. Eat it, sleep it, breathe it. He's Stephen Barnhart, and he's on the hotline. I'm going to let that play for you, Steve. Just let it play a little bit.
Well, I wasn't going to begin talking until this is done. Hey, I heard Sierra being played in the background. I almost hung up.
No. That's for me, dude.
I was going to say, if you disrespect me like that, I'll hang up.
You know me. I wouldn't do that to you.
Hey, that chick fell off. Okay, I don't need that in my life. All right, I don't fall off. Hey, listen, Lynn, so what are we talking? We talking NBA Finals? We talking young guys in NBA draft? Are we talking teenage pimps? Are we talking snitches and misappropriated adults? I mean, this is an episode of the Jerry Springer Show. What are we talking?
Absolutely. Let me just give you the first softball game one NBA Finals. Main topics that I spoke to in the beginning of the show were the so-called LeBroning and the cramping and the AC going out. But I think a lot of people missed the real story in that, in a sense of, regardless of the cramping or the AC going out, Miami Heat were taking it to them until about 7 minutes in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, they were leading until about 2 minutes into the fourth quarter. I mean, here's the thing. People are going to pick on LeBron James for cramping, this, that, and the other, and you pointed out. I mean, if you haven't actually experienced cramps, you don't understand what you're talking about.
Damn.
That's one. Two, at the end of the day, people forget Michael Jordan had stomach cramps in Game 4 of the '97 Finals. That's well documented at this point. Now this story is to come out with LeBron James. So if you don't know anything about that game, you need to go ahead and do your research. So bottom line is, cramps, whether it's in the stomach, legs, whatever, it can be really debilitating, especially if you're dehydrated. If you're just having regular cramps, it's one thing. But if you're having the cramps because you're dehydrated, it's a whole other ball game. And listen, I wasn't playing in that game. I don't know how hot it was to the players, but I can imagine your body temperature is already elevated because you're playing at a high level, you're running up and down, and at the end of the day, it doesn't help when the AC is just not on. Right? We can talk about players and their conditioning and this, that, and the other, but bottom line is, if it's 90 degrees on the court, nobody, except for Pat Riley sitting there looking like somebody's great-granddaddy, can sit there and look cool when it's hot.
True statement.
Now listen, the one thing I will point out is this. People are, 31-9, that's the reason why they did it. No. First of all, this team is poised for a run whenever. They have the best ball movement in basketball. And people, it's understated how important ball movement is. When you're the best team to move the ball in the NBA, you can make runs like that any time you want. So we can sit here and say, well, LeBron cramped, there was no AC, and they made this run to have to come back. But bottom line is, when you can close, you can close. Nobody's saying, oh, well, they were leading going into the 8th inning before that guy hit a home run. You know how much of an idiot you sound like? You have to close the game. Who was leading at the end of the game? It was Spurs. Let me tell you why. Biggest reason, outside of the fact that the Spurs stopped beating themselves, they're knocking down threes, and their bench. People are overlooking this bench. First of all, they're averaging 42 points a game, the Spurs bench, in this playoffs. Let's think about that for a second. You've got 42 points that this bench is averaging. Let's say, let's say LeBron James and Dwayne Wade average 25 and 19 respectively, which is what they had in Game 1. That ends up being 44 points. So your two best players in the series are averaging 44, and the Spurs bench is averaging 42. How many times, Lynn, can you think about a time where a team's bench was able to nullify the two best players in the series. You've never heard of that. So, bottom line is, when your second unit and the guys that are coming off your bench can make equal production to the best two players in the series, and we still haven't factored in Duncan's production in the paint. We still haven't factored in, Danny Green making shots, making threes. Right. Tony Parker doing what he does. Kawhi Leonard doing what he does. There's no reason why people should be shocked about Game 1, and they won't be shocked when it's the 6-game winner for the Spurs.
I said the same thing. I'm thinking Spurs in 6, and I think I said that before Skip Bayless did and made it famous. But nevertheless, this is a series that if it doesn't end in 6, it's going to definitely be a hell of a 7-game series. All right. Next subject, and thank you for clearing that up as far as the cramps. I feel like that as well. If you haven't experienced cramps, you don't need to be running your mouth at all. Period. In the story. Next subject. I'm just going to say the name and let you go off on him. Dwight Howard.
Listen, man. I can't sit here and be surprised. Lynn, you ever watch that movie Big with Tom Hanks?
Yes.
Okay, so. He reminds me of a child in a man's body. Listen, I'm not picking on the guy. I've met him. All right, he's very playful. He's very childlike. And we're forgetting the fact that this, even though he's grown up in the league, he's still a kid.
Still a kid.
And he takes it to an extreme. This is the same guy that will reply to you on Twitter to do like mama jokes and things of that nature. I mean, he's just very immature. So it's not a issue of not selecting the right women. It's an issue of the simple fact of just not making the right choices in general. And so I'm not going to go in on the guy because you know what? To be honest, if you said to me, what NBA player, are you surprised by the fact that he did this? Not really. I mean, look, he's made a bunch of bad decisions with women already. So am I shocked that all of a sudden it's a 6 now? Listen, bottom line, we can sit here and say, well, it's not worth it and all this, that, and the other. But I can't sit here and say that I'm shocked by this guy. I'm just not. At this point, somebody has to sit this guy down and let him know what he's in jeopardy of losing. It's very serious. And so I'm not going to go in on the guy. He needs prayer and therapy, honestly. And that's not saying that to be a joke. I mean, seriously, somebody needs to get this guy, pull him aside and say, listen, it's time to grow up. Because sometimes when you're given the keys to the car and you're not ready for it, you end up driving into a building. And this guy comes in the league, fresh out of high school, given all kinds of money. And, it's not like he's made a bunch of bad decisions, but there's been enough that's been documented to at this point where this decision's going, what's the next really big bad decision? So it's like now this is the biggest red flag. This is the red flag that says, okay, that's what you're willing to do or that's what you're doing on the side. A, I don't want to know what else you're involved in.
Right.
But B, I don't want to know what your next step is. So before you make that next step, let's stop it. So as much as I want to pick on the guy, honestly, somebody needs to just pull him aside and say, listen, what are you doing?
And it's got to be somebody of which he looks up to. Obviously, Kevin McHale can fit that. Hey, here's my deal: is this cat's parents still alive? Somebody's got to be able to sit him down. Not to me, this is beyond the whole sitting down and going, now, son, you have to. No, somebody's got to smack the dog crap out of this dude and be like, hey, what the hell are you doing?
Well, but you know what though? But you know what though? That's not going to work because if you see what his tendencies are as a player, you can see that when people get on him, he deflects and he goes away. So you got to find somebody who can actually talk to him as a person and get him to understand what he's doing as a person. And it's when you've got a type B personality like he does, okay, and then you've also got a guy who's making reckless decisions. It's really tough to crack through a guy like that. It's really going to take a special person, and I hate to even say it might even take something to really knock him off his pedestal to get him to understand he needs to make a change. And I hope it doesn't come to that, but you oftentimes see that. You see guys that abuse drugs and, they'll get caught for some marijuana here and next thing you know, it's 10 pounds of crack. And it's the 10 pounds of crack that gets them to say, oh, yeah, I probably need to go to rehab.
Yeah, definitely one of those. Stephen Barnard on the hotline with us. All right, since we're going to collectively give Dwight Howard somewhat of a pass, I'll tell you what, though.
No. I'm not giving him a pass. I'm just not going to. I'm not going to bang on the guy because at the end of the day, it goes beyond just banging on them, because somebody really needs to pull that cat to the side and be like, look, dude, what are you doing?
And while we're at it, can we pull the parents of this teenage girl to the side and say, what are you doing? Why are you letting that girl go?
That's a separate issue. I'm used in this day and age. I'm used to kids raising kids, so I wouldn't be surprised to find out that her parents are in their 20s or something along those lines. Because if they are, that explains everything I need to know.
Yeah, pretty much in the story. All right, next one, and I gotta ask you this question. Did Rashaad McCants break some type of code at North Carolina by coming out and saying, "Hey, I took fake classes and did whatever, and they helped me, stay eligible"? Now UNC has a big microscope on them. What's going on there?
Well, they've had a microscope on them for a while, and here's the thing: this is no different to me than when we talked about Sterling's issue. When we talked about you don't do certain things with certain types of people. Bottom line is this. A lot of these institutions are, and I can't say for sure, but there's a lot of institutions that I'm sure have engaged in at some point some rule breaking on the NCAA level. So the thing you look at it is you say to yourself, okay, if you're going to do that, you have to know that the guys you're recruiting and the people you're doing dirt with understand what doing dirt is and aren't willing to put it out there. But you see, the thing is, you're dealing with 18-year-old kids,
right?
And you don't know what they're going to grow up to be. I'm surprised it's taking this long, Lynn.
Mm-hmm.
I'm shocked, because at the end of the day, you got people, outsiders snitching on programs these days, and it just seems like we can talk about it being a code thing, and sure, you probably, in terms of keeping it in house, sure, it is a code thing. Don't let this get outside this room, but at the end of the day, look, I look at it like this. It's not like McCants is writing a tell-all book, and all of a sudden he's going on a tour talking about it. Because then you could point to the fact that, he's just trying to make money and exposing people.
Mm-hmm.
I look at it like this. I look at it as it needs to be a shout-out to the NCAA and UNC specifically. If you're going to continue to do this, you shouldn't. Because at the end of the day, you don't know who's going to be next, and it could just be that one final death blow that puts some sanctions on your program that you don't want. So, to me, I look at it as, why be surprised by it? Again, it's to me, I honestly thought about it, and jokingly, I thought to myself, I've never heard anyone complain about making the dean's list. But, bottom line is, you can't be surprised by the fact that at some point these guys turn around like, so that NBA thing didn't work out. So what the hell am I going to do?
Yes.
I don't even have a degree to go back and obtain. So yeah, what am I? And that's the thing. You debilitate these guys from even being able to create a life for themselves outside of basketball. So if you're not going to give them legit classes, and you're not going to be the responsible adult to say, maybe we should set these guys up for lifetime success because they've helped set our program up for success, then at the end of the day, the money is making the adults just as dumb as the kids.
True.
Bottom line, you've got adults making $1 million decisions using children, and to me, that's a pretty good form of pimping, if I can say so, just blatantly.
Preach it.
So if you're going to do that, then you either need to own up to it and say, yeah, that's what we do, or you need to do the right thing, be the adult in the situation, and say, listen, son, you might not be ready for a college classroom, but we're going to help you do whatever we can to at least set you up to prepare you for that. Hell, partner these guys with some of the people in the education department who are getting teaching degrees, and let them work with these guys. I mean, what better opportunity to earn an internship or at least earn some experience than to partner up with these? I don't know what you do, but just thinking off the top of my head, you got to start putting together a program or a better solution for these guys, and then you can't be mad at them for coming out and saying something. I mean, the bottom line is, sure, keep it in house, but why sit here and be upset at the guy? I mean, he doesn't. I mean, as far as I can see, he doesn't have any foul intentions. So, people, well, why now? I don't know. I really don't know. I don't know if the guy has just hit a rock and a hard place in life and is just like, yo, I kind of feel a little screwed over here. Because, look, you have to look at it like this. They're there when they're kids. They don't know any better. This guy is now in his 20s and looking around saying, wow, I don't really have much for myself anymore, and the whole basketball thing just didn't pan out. So he might feel a little bitter or a little salty, but at the end of the day, I think what he's saying in his message in terms of wanting to just kind of put it out there and say, hey, listen, this is going on, it serves benefit to whoever's coming up through the pipeline. So I'm not mad at the guy. Like I said earlier, I'm kind of surprised it took this long.
Yeah, definitely with you there. Stephen Barnhart, always a pleasure to have you on the program. Anything else you want to put on there to wrap up the sermon?
No, man. Hey, I would appreciate you being on. Everybody, make sure to follow me on hardwoodhoopscentral.com, at HWHoopsCentral on Twitter. Appreciate it, Lynn.
No worries, man. Anytime, like I said, the door's open and there's beer in the fridge. Go grab you one.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, man. Hey, we'll take a break on that and let you marinate on that one for a little bit. That's one of the reasons I bring the man on. Why else would I bring anybody else on that would not eat it, sleep it, or breathe it? That's why this guy calls himself the CEO. That's what it is. From hoops to soccer. World Cup talk, man. World Cup talk coming up next. Managed to grab a good buddy of mine, Dan Boniface of the Denver Post. I'll explain more about him and what you should expect in the World Cup coming up after the break. It's Talking Sports with that guy right here on CosmicBroadcasting.com.
89, the number, another song.